So I watched the video of your lesson, and I was looking at the learning standards. So some of the examples for learning standard 1, you did good on the one-on-one with Irby, where you involved the tactile movement, acknowledging that he has dyslexia, and then adding the movement to like rewire the brain is important. So when you had him like point to the word or flip the tile, or the card, I guess, that's important. Right? It's little things like that that help the lesson. And the fact that it was one-on-one is perfect. For learning style 2, allowing Iñaki to read and having the handouts with the highlighters, like you were acknowledging that there's different levels in the group. Iñaki was one of the stronger readers. Allowing him and allowing Krishan to read while Irby just listened, because Irby's coping skills with the dyslexia is that he's very good at paying attention and like pulling out information auditorily. So if he hears it, he'll be able to respond. Acknowledging that is really good. And then the learning standard 3, the fact that you guys were in a small group, you were at the same table, and then allowing for the flexible seating. That creates an environment for the students to be, productive. I thought grow. You kind of corrected the behavior like right away where they were bouncing on the chair. But it's kind of like what the seat is.
What is it for?
Is intended for. Like they have ADHD, and so that might be a release of energy. Obviously, if it's becoming a distraction, then you gotta, nip it in the bud. But maybe like just setting the expectation about the chairs or how to use the chairs and what they're intended for would be good. Right? Like, because you don't want to like take away that.
For sure.
Yeah.
I thought about that too.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, how can they actually bounce on the chairs and it not be a huge distraction? And then how can I communicate this to them, which I think would be good to set expectations even just when we go in our small group.
Right, exactly.
In advance, and that way we all know, okay, we can bounce lightly and not just bounce off the wall. But
yeah. I think you did good at redirecting, and you could tell there's a relationship there because they responded right away. Like they didn't fight you on it. They were like, all right. So that's good. That's like a positive. Just little things to be mindful of like throughout the lesson. I thought having the printouts was good. So having the story, instead of them using the book, you printed it out. And you could focus really on the vocabulary part. Had them have the highlighters, so again, adding the movement. All that is good to do especially with the small group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure I do more of that. I was just trying to figure out how to include John also in a way that he still feels valued and respected and, not isolated.
Yeah, I think the other kids in the group kind of know already, right? And I think that's also why Iñaki like steps up sometimes to read, and like he knows he's a stronger reader. They don't call each other out. They're pretty supportive in that regard. I think giving John the highlighter is good. You get something in his hand, he can physically participate. Allowing him to verbalize his responses would be great. Not calling on him to read out loud, right? Like that's he's not going to be successful, right? You want to set him up for success.
Sure, right.
But I think having him be part of the group, just him being there, seeing everyone else, that's a win.
He's inclusive. He's figuring out what's going on. He's actually critically thinking about the content, and he can still answer the questions. Okay. Thanks. What about the one-on-one?
The one-on-one, again, like having the tiles was good. Having him flip it. maybe another way, like to level it up, could be like having him write it, like physically
Okay.
write it, like on a whiteboard.
Okay.
And like maybe sound out the words with you, or like you sound it out and then he sounds it out. He's on like letter sound identification.
Okay.
So when I worked with him during the summer, he was mixing up the short A and the short E vowel sound. Working on those R-controlled consonants.
Okay.
I would check in with Miss Witt, because she's doing Wilson with him. I know she started from the beginning, but he was already at level 3 last year. And maybe just like building off of that, like whatever words that they were using.
Okay.
Yeah, sight words are always great. Like that's always like a good like go-to. And pulling out the words from the text was good.
Yeah.
So he could realize like this is how it's related.
Yeah.
But if you want to focus, like really focus on foundational skills, then you can take it back to like letter sound identification.
Okay.
He did all the vowels. He just sometimes he'll mix up the A and the E. And then in the summer we had got to R-controlled R-controlled consonants or R-controlled vowels. I can't remember.
So when it comes to the content, you think I should just focus more on his auditory? Like we were working on figurative language, and I've got to get him used to really opening up to about the content. So maybe I can take a few days to kind of review the knowledge or the prior knowledge about what it is. Like I know we went over maybe 7 or 8 different figurative languages and some examples, but I didn't get a chance to go fully deeper into that with him, and I kind of felt bad about that. Like, what can I do? Maybe should I take just a few of them, like chunk it into maybe 1 or 2 vocabulary, or
I could even see you doing like a Kahoot or a Book It with him.
Okay.
Where it's on figurative language, because he loves using the computer.
Okay.
But getting him to voice, he'll read an example of figurative language, and then if he can express what the meaning is,
yes,
I think that's more important than being able to identify if it's a simile, a metaphor.
Okay.
Right. Like that's cool if he can identify what type of figurative language it is. That's great. That's even better. But if he can understand what the meaning or like what's trying to be expressed, I think that is a bigger takeaway than.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course.
All right.